When forest rangers got an emergency call about a giant python attacking a wild Mustang deep in Florida's Everglades, they expected another grim case of invasive predators threatening local wildlife. But what they found was Luna courageous. Mare caught in a fight for her life against a 20-foot Burmese python wrapped tight around her legs. Just as rangers readied themselves for a high-risk rescue, something happened that shattered everything they thought they knew about wild horses. And, the depth of a mother's instinct. What Luna did next didn't just save her life, it unveiled a hidden truth that left the entire rescue team stunned, proving that a mother's love defies even the deadliest odds. The emergency radio crackled to life at 6:47 a.m. inside the Everglades Ranger Station, slicing through the thick morning humidity. Senior Ranger Jake Martinez, 39, a Cuban-American with sun-creased skin and intense brown eyes, was reviewing patrol logs when the call came that would change everything. "Code red at Sector 7, the voice said. "Hikers report a python attacking. A wild horse, immediate backup and wildlife rescue requested." Jake's weathered hands shot for his radio. In 15 years of service, he'd seen many brutal python encounters, but never an attack on a full-grown Mustang. These pythons, some over 20 feet, had been ravaging the Everglades since Hurricane Andrew released dozens into the wild in 1992. Martinez responding, Jake said, grabbing his emergency gear. 15 minutes. Contact Dr. Sarah Williams. At Everglades Veterinary Emergency Urgent Support needed. Meanwhile, Ranger Maria Santos, 31, a conservation expert with long black hair pulled into a field ponytail and sun-darkened olive skin, was monitoring tracking equipment when the alert came in. A former wildlife biology major, Maria had devoted her career to the python crisis threatening the fragile Everglades ecosystem. "Jake, if this snake's big enough to take down a Mustang, we're dealing with one of the largest ever recorded," she said, her voice edged with tension. "Our standard gear might not cut it?" Dr. Tom Bradley, 45, a seasoned wildlife vet with graying temples and kind blue eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, had treated countless python bite victims but never anything like this. "I'm prepping tranquilizers now," he radioed in. But Maria's right. If this python is a threat to a Mustang, we're venturing into uncharted territory. Jake's route to Sector 7 took him through the most secluded stretches of the Everglades, where wild Mustangs, descendants of Spanish conquistador horses, had lived for generations, blending into the ecosystem's balanced dot. As Jake neared the GPS coordinates, a sound froze him in place, the piercing, frantic scream of a horse in mortal peril. The cry echoed through the swamp, raw and primal. "I can hear her," Jake radioed, heart pounding. "We've got to move fast." Pushing through dense cypress and sawgrass, Jake caught sight of a scene that would stay with him forever. Stunning Bay Mare, slick with sweat and terror, was locked in a crushing struggle with the largest python he'd ever encountered. The snake, at least 20 feet long, thick as a telephone pole, had its muscular coils wrapped tightly around her, front legs squeezing slowly and relentlessly. But it wasn't the snake's size or Luna's struggle that stunned Jake. It was what stood behind her in the grass, a trembling, newborn foal on shaky legs, whimpering for its mother who was battling not just for her own life, but for her. "Babies, my God," Jake whispered into his radio. "She's protecting her foal." The Mare later named Luna, for the moon-shaped mark on her flank was using every ounce of her strength to shield her baby. Every time the python adjusted for more grip, Luna countered, shifting her weight to keep herself between the snake and her foal. Then, with an explosive burst of energy, Luna reared on her hind legs despite the crushing pressure and struck at the python's head with her hooves. The transformation from prey to protector was breathtaking, but Jake could see her strength fading fast. "Maria, Dr. Bradley, we need the equipment now," Jake barked. "She's holding on, but not for long. That baby's only chance is its mother." Maria arrived moments later with python restraint gear, but froze at the terrifying sight before her. The snake around Luna was the largest she'd seen in the field, a predator capable of overpowering nearly any animal in its path. "Jake, This thing's over 200 pounds, she murmured, stunned. We're facing an apex predator. Standard capture methods won't work here. Dr. Bradley emerged from the dents, brush carrying his tranquilizer kit and emergency vet supplies. Though he treated hundreds of python attack victims in his 45 years, he had never witnessed a horse fighting back with such calculated determination. The Mare is in shock, he noted as he knelt to set up his equipment, but she's fighting smart. Watch how she's positioning herself. Every move is deliberate, all to protect that foal. Luna's instincts were nothing short of astonishing. As the python tried to shift its coils higher to crush her chest, she twisted and reared, using her bulk to unbalance it. When it lunged toward her head with its crushing jaws, she ducked and spun, shielding her core while staying in the fight. Nearby, hidden in the sawgrass where Luna had placed him, the tiny foal, barely 48 hours old, judging by his wobbly stance, cried out helplessly. But thanks to Luna's strategy, the python couldn't reach him without loosening its deadly grip on her, something it wouldn't risk. We need flawless coordination, Jake said, eyes locked on the standoff. If either of them panics, that snake could crush Luna's chest or worse, go for the foal. Maria readied a specially designed capture cone large enough to trap the python's head. We control the head, we control the situation, she said. Only then can we start unwinding the coils without triggering a defensive strike. But time was running out. Luna's strength was fading fast under the python's relentless pressure. Her hooves staggered slightly, and each breath came harder than the last. Frothy foam had begun to gather around her mouth, a telltale sign of respiratory failure. She's going into distress, Dr. Bradley warned. We've got minutes, not hours. And then Luna did something that stunned them all. With what little strength she had left, she began to vocalize not random cries of fear, but a rhythmic, intentional series of sounds. Is she? Giving him instructions? Maria asked, her voice hushed. To everyone's amazement, the foal responded. He stepped deeper into the sawgrass and lowered himself to the ground, hiding in place. Even as she fought for her life, Luna was guiding her baby's survival. I've never seen this before, Dr. Bradley murmured. She's teaching him how to hide while dying. Jake knew the moment had come. We move now. Maria, take the left flank with the capture cone. Dr. Bradley, stand by with sedatives in case either animal needs to be immobilized. I'll draw the snake's attention. As the team closed in, Luna's eyes found Jake's. In that brief look, he saw not panic, but a mother's final plea: save my child. If I don't make it, the python sensed the approaching humans and began to writhe, tightening its hold around Luna's forelegs. Her knees buckled, but she remained upright, summoning strength she didn't have. She knew that falling would seal both their fates. Now, Jake barked and Maria lunged forward with the equipment as the most dangerous rescue of their lives. Officially began. Everything would come down to the next few minutes whether Luna's astonishing courage would be enough to save herself and the future she fought to protect. Jake moved from the right, using a long-handled pole to tap the python's lower body, trying to shift its focus. Easy, Luna, he said gently, approaching the quivering Mare. We're here now. We've got you. The snake sensed the new threat and began to reposition, but Luna, summoning one last surge of will, reared up once more. That brief moment was all Maria needed. She slid the capture cone toward the snake's massive head. 2 more feet, she gasped, forehead soaked with sweat. Jake, can you get it to turn toward me? Dr. Bradley stood ready, his fingers poised over a tranquilizer dose that might be their only hope. Dr. Bradley stood poised with the tranquilizer darts, but the danger was far from over. Sedating a python while it was still coiled around its victim risked a deadly reflex. If the snake tightened its grip as it lost consciousness, Luna could be fatally crushed before they could act. Suddenly, the python's head, thick as a man's thigh, snapped toward Maria, its cold, predatory eyes locked onto the new threat, and for a terrifying moment it seemed to waver, torn between defending itself and keeping its lethal hold. Luna sensed the hesitation and made a move no one expected. Rather than trying to pull away, she deliberately dropped her full weight to the side, rolling toward the rescue team and forcing the python's head directly into Maria's waiting capture. "Cone, she's helping us," Maria cried as the device clamped down over the snake's skull. "She's actually helping." With the head secured, the immediate threat of a strike was neutralized, but the snake's massive body still coiled tightly around Luna's legs. Constricting with panic-fueled force, the python thrashed violently, trying to break free, its writhing coils squeezing tighter with every twist. "Dr. Bradley, now!" Jake barked. Bradley rushed in and carefully injected a precise sedative dose through the snake's thick scales. "It'll take 3 to 5 minutes, he warned. "We need to keep things calm until then." Even through her exhaustion and pain, Luna remained astonishingly aware. She shifted her body gently as Jake and Maria began to unwrap the heavy coils, adjusting her stance to ease the pressure and aid their efforts. "In 20 years of working with horses," Dr. Bradley said, glancing between her vitals and the team's progress, "I've never seen this level of cognitive response in a rescue." Hidden in the tall sawgrass, the foal watched it all unfold. His mother's earlier instructions had kept him perfectly still, concealed from the chaos. But every time Luna cried out in pain, he answered softly, too young to help, yet still connected to her. As the sedative began to take effect, the python's movement slowed, its crushing grip loosened coil by coil. Jake and Maria moved fast but carefully, while Bradley kept constant watch on both animals for shock or collapse. "Almost there," Maria said, muscles straining. 2 more coils to go. But as they removed the final coil from Luna's front legs, disaster struck. With the external pressure gone, her weakened legs could no longer hold her weight. She crumpled to the ground. "She's going down!" Dr. Bradley shouted, diving to her side with emergency gear. Her collapse triggered a panic in the foal. Against every instinct his mother had taught him, the little Mustang bolted from hiding. Stumbling toward her on unsteady legs, Jake and Maria quickly secured the now unconscious python while Dr. Bradley examined Luna. Her breathing was ragged, her pulse faint, and the swelling in her legs was severe. "We need to get her to the clinic." "Fast," he said, "but a horse this size, in this condition... And then, in a moment that would become legend among those who witnessed it, Luna stirred. Despite the pain, she raised her head and called to her foal with the same calm, rhythmic vocalizations she'd used during the attack. The foal immediately responded, trotting to her side and curling close to her head where she could see and comfort him, even in near collapse. Luna's first thought was for her baby to let him know she was still there, still fighting for him. "We saved them both," Jake declared firmly, already calling in for emergency air transport. "That Mare has shown more heart and intelligence than any animal I've ever seen. We're not losing her now." As the helicopter raced toward the Everglades Wildlife Medical Center, Luna's condition continued to decline. Dr. Bradley worked against the clock to stabilize her. Knowing the next hour would determine everything, they loaded the injured Mare into a specialized large animal transport trailer. Jake took the wheel, navigating winding back roads with urgent care, pushing for speed while avoiding any jarring bumps that might worsen Luna's condition. In the back, Maria sat beside the foal, who refused to leave his mother's side. Despite his own exhaustion and fear, he stayed pressed against her, eyes wide and trembling. Any attempt to separate them caused both animals visible distress. Her circulations compromised in both front legs. Dr. Bradley reported grimly as he worked in the cramped trailer. "The python caused significant tissue trauma, maybe. Even nerve damage. If she survives, we're looking at weeks of intensive rehabilitation." At the Everglades Wildlife Medical Center, preparations were already underway. Dr. Lisa Shang, a 42-year-old equine trauma specialist known for taking on hopeless cases, was scrubbing in with her surgical team. Her shoulder-length black hair was tied back, her every movement precise and practiced. "Bring her straight to O2, Dr. Chang ordered as the trailer arrived. "We've got 4 fluids, pain control, and anti-inflammatory protocols prepped." It took 6 people and a hydraulic lift to transfer Luna without further damaging her legs. Through it all, the Mare remained awake, weak but alert, her eyes searching anxiously for her baby. If she thinks he's gone, she could give up, Dr. Chang observed. We have to keep them together. The foal, now named Star for the distinct white blaze on his forehead, had his own needs. At less than 48 hours old, he required regular nursing, but Luna's condition made natural feeding painful and risky. We'll start him on Mare's milk replacer, Dr. Chang said, but we'll keep the nursing bond if Luna can tolerate it. That connection is vital. The first critical step was restoring circulation to Luna's legs. Dr. Chang worked with surgical precision, using ultrasound to check tissue damage and administering medications to reduce swelling and prevent blood clots. There's good news. And bad news, Dr. Chang said after her assessment. No permanent nerve damage, thankfully. But the soft tissue trauma is extensive. She'd be in serious pain for a while. Outside the treatment suite, Jake, Maria, and Dr. Bradley waited tense and silent. The python, now fully sedated and contained, had already been transferred to a research facility, where scientists hoped to study the unusually large predator. I keep thinking about what Luna did, Maria murmured. She didn't just survive, she helped us rescue her. That was strategy, that was intelligence. Dr. Bradley nodded. I've seen wild horses show empathy and loyalty. But this was different. She understood us, she worked with us. As night fell, Dr. Chang finally emerged. Her face, though tired, carried a hint of a smile. She's stable, she said. Circulation's returning. Her vitals are improving. The next 72 hours are critical, but she's fighting. The team was allowed to visit Luna in her recovery stall. Star was nursing properly and peacefully, for the first time since the python attack. The sight of the foal feeding, comforted by his mother's breath, moved the entire team to tears. She fought that python for over an hour, Jake whispered. And now, look at them. You'd never know they went through hell this morning. But Dr. Chang voiced a deeper concern. Wild Mustangs don't do well in confinement. It stresses them. Especially a Mare with a foal. That stress could derail her healing. That's when Maria stepped forward with a bold idea, one that would push the limits of existing wildlife rehabilitation protocols. What if we create a semi-wild recovery habitat? She proposed, a space where Luna and Star can heal together, but on their own terms. Maria's idea, large paddocks mimicking their natural habitat, took root quickly. The plan was ambitious, a semi-wild recovery environment that allowed constant veterinary access while replicating the Everglades ecosystem. Approval had to be rushed through wildlife agencies and logistics were complex. But as they watched Luna grooming Star with clear relief and motherly tenderness, there was no doubt they had to try. She had risked everything for her foal. Now, the humans she trusted would risk just as much to give them both a real chance. 2. Weeks after the python attack, Luna and Star were thriving inside their custom-built 10-acre recovery enclosure. The habitat featured marshland trails, shallow water channels, native vegetation, and shaded rest zones. For the first time, Dr. Chang attempted wild horse rehabilitation on such a scale. Her leg strength is returning faster than I anticipated, Dr. Chang said during one of Luna's morning checks. Natural terrain and gentle movement are working better than confinement ever could. Meanwhile, Maria had been documenting Luna's every move. What she captured was changing scientific assumptions about wild Mustang intelligence. Luna wasn't just tolerating human help, she was seeking it out. She associates us with relief. Maria told Jake, yesterday she literally presented her injured leg to Dr. Chang without restraint. She wanted the medicine. Star, now 3 weeks old, was thriving. He had become a curious, confident foal under Luna's guidance. Instead of retreating from the trauma, they had emerged stronger, more bonded than ever. Dr. Bradley, too, was stunned. No signs of trauma, no panic, no avoidance behavior. If anything, they're more alert, more engaged. Whatever happened out there didn't break them, it forged them. Then came the breakthrough moment. Dr. Chang added a shallow marsh obstacle to the enclosure, simulating real Everglades terrain. If she can cross water comfortably, she said, it means her legs are strong enough for the wild. Luna approached the water slowly, studying the surface. Then, with deliberate steps, she waded in testing the ground, gauging the depth. Star stood watching, ears perked, tail flicking. Then she called softly. Star responded immediately, stepping into the water beside her, mimicking her movements exactly. She's teaching him, Jake whispered. That's not instinct. That's experience, passed down. The final test came with the arrival of Dr. Robert Hayes, a senior wildlife official with decades of experience. He explained the concern clearly. Rehabilitation usually fails when animals lose fear of all humans. If Luna can't tell the difference between friend and threat, we can't release her. Dr. Hayes entered the enclosure alone. The care team hid from view. Luna instantly went still. Her eyes locked on the stranger, her posture protective. She positioned herself between Dr. Hayes and Star, alert, guarded, but not aggressive. No approach, no misplaced trust. Perfect, Dr. Hayes said quietly. She still knows the difference. But with that green light came a heavy truth. Luna, this brilliant, brave, extraordinary Mare, would soon be gone, back to the wild. Back where she belonged. It's what we've worked toward, Dr. Chang said, her voice tight with emotion. But she's become part of us. And then, on the night before her scheduled release, Luna did something no one expected. As twilight fell and the team did one final check, Luna walked quietly to the fence. Star stayed close at her side. Luna lowered her head and nickered softly, not in distress, but in recognition. Then she lifted her injured leg, the same way she had done with Dr. Chang. But this time, there was no injury, just memory. It was a gesture of trust, of farewell. She remembers, Maria said, tears in her eyes. She knows. The next morning they opened the gates. Luna turned once to look at them, then trotted into the rising sun, Star galloping joyfully beside her. The wild grass parting like waves before them. Free. Together. Alive. As twilight deepened, Luna approached the observation fence one last time. Jake, Maria, and Dr. Bradley stood silently, unsure of what she would do. Then with deliberate gentleness, she extended her nose and touched each of their outstretched hands one by one. It was unmistakable. She's saying goodbye, Maria whispered, tears running freely down her cheeks. She knows, tomorrow, she goes home. The sun sank below the horizon in a blaze of oranges and purples, casting long shadows across the sanctuary. Luna and Star grazed peacefully, unaware that their story had already sparked national conversations about wildlife conservation, equine intelligence, and humane rescue protocols. The morning of release dawned clear and humid, with golden beams of sunlight filtering through the cypress canopy. Jake, Maria, and Dr. Bradley stood beside the enclosure for the final time, their hearts heavy with pride and sorrow. Are you ready for this? Dr. Chang asked quietly, knowing no one truly could be. Luna was. She stood tall, muscles restored, eyes bright. Star, now strong and playful, stayed close, no longer the trembling foal they had first found. She's ready, Jake said, his voice tight. She knows she's going home. Dr. Bradley fitted Luna with a temporary GPS collar. It'll fall off in 30 days, he explained. We just want to make sure she and Star reintegrate safely. The release site was carefully chosen. 2 miles from the attack site where Luna's herd still roamed. Morning tracking had confirmed their presence nearby. Everything was in place. Once the trailer opens, Maria reminded everyone, she's wild again. We don't interfere. The trailer doors swung open. Luna stepped out cautiously, her head high, nostrils flaring. Star followed closely, mimicking her every movement. For a long moment they stood still, absorbing the open air, the sounds of the Everglades, the promise of home. Then a distant whinny echoed across the marsh. There, Jake pointed. Far beyond the tree line, horse silhouettes shifted, herd members responding to her presence. Luna lifted her head and whinnied back, long, layered calls that told a story. We survived. We're coming home, the herd answered, the sound full of recognition and joy. Star began to prance beside his mother, stirred by voices he had never heard but somehow understood. "She's telling them everything," Dr. Bradley murmured in awe. "Listen to that complexity, it's communication, not just instinct." Nuzzling Star with reassurance, Luna stepped forward. Together, they crossed the grasslands toward the herd that had waited. When they met, the reunion was profound. Horses touched noses, whinnied softly, and surrounded Luna and Star in a circle of acceptance and joy. "She's home," Maria whispered through her tears. "And Star just met his family." In the following weeks, GPS data told a story more incredible than anyone expected. Luna wasn't just part of the herd, she was leading it. She's steering them away from danger zones. Maria showed Jake and Dr. Bradley on the tracking map. Every time she gets near Python territory, she redirects the group. She remembers, and she's protecting them. Luna had become more than a survivor. She was a sentinel, a leader forged by fire, now guiding others through it, not just home ... but into a safer, stronger future. The most astonishing discovery came months later. Reports trickled in from other wildlife teams. Luna had been seen allowing veterinarians to approach sick or injured herd members, guiding them, even as if she understood that these humans could heal in ways horses could not. She's become a bridge between wild and domestic. Dr. Chang explained, Luna is facilitating conservation efforts in ways we never imagined. Star had grown into a confident, resilient young stallion. His early trauma transformed into strength and adaptability. The herd's protection and Luna's leadership shaped him into a powerful force within the wild. 6 months after her release, Jake got a call that brought everything full circle. Hikers had spotted a Mare with a distinctive crescent-shaped marking, teaching a group of young foals how to recognize and avoid python-scent trails. "She's passing on what she learned," Jake said, his voice filled with awe. "Luna is teaching the next generation how to survive threats their ancestors never knew." As for the python that attacked Luna, it was safely relocated to a research facility where scientists studied its unprecedented size and behavior. That research contributed to new strategies in managing invasive species in the Everglades, but Luna's legacy went far beyond the science. Her story inspired a revolution in wildlife rehabilitation, balancing medical intervention with freedom and autonomy. The semi-wild recovery habitat built for her recovery became the blueprint for facilities nationwide. Jake still visits the Everglades, sometimes at sunset when the sky is ablaze with color. He imagines Luna and Star roaming free in the distance, wild, healthy, and exactly where they belong. The Mare, who once stood between a 20-foot python and her helpless foal, had become a symbol of maternal bravery, survival, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. Her battle with death and her extraordinary recovery remind us that courage knows no species, that the instinct to protect the ones we love can inspire feats of impossible strength, that intelligence and adaptability aren't exclusive to humans. They exist in the wild, waiting to be seen if only we pay attention. Through her journey, Luna didn't just survive, she transformed the world around her. She became a teacher, a leader, and a living legacy. Today, Luna continues to guide her herd through the Everglades, quietly shaping the future of wild Mustangs. Her life has improved wildlife care protocols, influenced python control efforts, and empowered a new generation of foals to survive an increasingly dangerous world. Luna's story reminds us, in our darkest moments, love and determination can overcome impossible odds, and sometimes the greatest heroes walk on 4 legs, silent, wild, and unforgettable. If Luna's courage touched your heart, like this video and subscribe for more incredible true stories of wildlife bravery. Share her story with someone who needs to believe in resilience. Tell us in the comments, what would you do to protect someone you love when everything's on the line? Because sometimes the wild teaches us what it really means to be human.